know that the sixth angel is going to dry up the river Euphrates. Now,
Syria's longest river has receded, parching trees and leaving families of local farmers without water to drink.
In Syria and Iraq, the once vibrant Euphrates River is now fading, leading to severe water shortages for millions. However, an even greater threat rises as recent discoveries along the river could shake mainstream science and challenge long-held beliefs conserved by the media. Joe Rogan has brought attention to this shocking revelation, suggesting that it could have far-reaching consequences beyond the current drought crisis. Join us as we delve into the mystery surrounding the Euphrates River and explore why this discovery has sparked concerns about issues and what could happen to the future of our planet. Crisis along the abuse of civilization. The water level in the Euphrates River has become very low in some areas because of many dams and water use projects. These interventions, primarily aimed at harnessing the river for electricity and irrigation, have fundamentally altered its natural state. The river, which stretches over 1,740 miles from the mountains of Turkey through Syria and into Iraq, is no longer able to sustain the ecosystems and populations that have depended on it for centuries. The changes in the river's ecosystem reflect environmental damage and complex human interactions along its banks. The Euphrates' role as a lifeline for many has been compromised, highlighting the ongoing struggle for water resources in the region. Post-Treaty of Lausanne, water management became a critical issue, with countries along the river's path forced to make tough decisions about water allocation. Initially, in 1946, Turkey and Iraq tried to lay down rules for shared use, but this has led to ongoing disputes exacerbated by further dam construction, particularly in Turkey. These conflicts over water use underscore a broader challenge that extends beyond national borders, affecting regional stability and cooperation. As water levels continue to fall, the implications are manifold. Agricultural fields are drying up, reducing crop yields and increasing food scarcity. This not only affects local food prices, but also has broader economic repercussions. Moreover, the decreasing water supply is threatening wildlife and leading to the loss of biodiversity, which could have long-lasting effects on the natural habitats along the river. The situation is dire, and the dwindling Euphrates serves as a stark reminder of the urgent need for comprehensive water management strategies that transcend political boundaries. It calls for cooperative international efforts to ensure the sustainability of this critical resource. Failure to act could lead to more than just regional issues. It could be a precursor to global water crises as freshwater resources around the world continue to diminish. The plight of the Euphrates is a poignant example of the challenges facing our global community in terms of environmental stewardship and resource management. It is a call to action for all stakeholders involved, from local communities to international leaders, to devise solutions that not only address the immediate problems, but also pave the way for sustainable water usage in the future. The Euphrates River, which once flowed majestically across borders, has become a battleground for nations grappling with water scarcity. Countries like Syria, Iraq, and Turkey have aggressively built dams, each striving to capture as much water as possible for their own use. This rush to control water resources has led to significant reductions in the river's flow, particularly affecting Iraq. The consequences are dire, with once fertile lands turning barren and food supplies becoming increasingly precarious. This intense competition over water has escalated to dangerous levels. At one point, Iraq was so affected by the reduction in water flow that it considered launching an attack on Syria's Tabqa Dam. Such drastic measures highlight the desperation and tension that water scarcity can breed among neighboring nations. Joe Rogan has revealed how critical the state of the river has become. His insights serve to emphasize the urgent need for action and the potential consequences of inaction. Despite some attempts by international players like Saudi Arabia and the Soviet Union to mediate and ease tensions, these have only been temporary solutions. Each year, the demand for water grows, reflecting a short-sighted approach to managing this essential resource. This is a global problem, where humanity's consumption of natural resources often overlooks the need for sustainability. Now, the Euphrates is severely depleted. What was once a vast river, visible from space, now consists of stretches that are nearly dry. This drastic change poses a serious threat to the lives of the 9 million Syrians living near its banks. The situation is an urgent call for responsible water management and for countries that depend on the Euphrates to work together toward a solution. The ongoing degradation of the Euphrates is a clear example of how vital natural resources are mismanaged. It demonstrates the need for a unified approach that prioritizes the river's health and the well-being of all the people who rely on it. Such cooperation should look beyond national interests and focus on preserving the river for future generations. Let's look at how the Euphrates River's future depends on people working together. The grim future of ancient rivers. Without a concerted effort to address these issues collectively, the future of the Euphrates is bleak. It could become little more than a dry riverbed, serving as a stark reminder of the consequences of human disregard for the environment. The nations dependent on the Euphrates must come together to find sustainable solutions that ensure the river can continue to sustain the regions it flows through. This is not just beneficial, but essential for their survival and for preventing the river from turning into a testament to human error and oversight. The local population is on the verge of a severe crisis as their main river is drying up. This disaster had been hinted at in the past, but it seems not enough attention was paid to these warnings. Now, the situation mirrors a story from the Book of Revelation, where the Euphrates River dries up, which was meant to make way for the kings from the east. Interestingly, this old story talks about the river being emptied by cups, which could be seen as a metaphor for the many dams built along the river in modern times. Once a thriving water source for ancient civilizations, the Euphrates is now turning into a dry land, triggering widespread concern. According to the Bible, the drying of this river is a sign of the end times, a period that includes the second coming of Christ. Located near what is believed to be the historic Garden of Eden, the drying of the Euphrates is laden with significant religious implications. But beyond the scriptural meanings, there are very practical and immediate dangers. The river is essential for water supply to several countries, and its complete dry-up could lead to intense disputes over water rights, potentially causing conflicts that could affect global stability. Pastor Joseph Kabbaletta highlighted this alarming possibility at a recent conference in Uganda, where he discussed how the prophecy of a drying river could lead to real-world conflicts, as suggested in biblical texts such as Revelation chapter 9 and Ezekiel chapter 38. The situation is further complicated by similar issues in the Tigris River, the Euphrates' neighboring river. This double threat to the region's water sources underscores the urgent need for international cooperation in managing water resources. This crisis highlights the need to take ancient warnings and contemporary environmental challenges seriously, or face dire consequences. As rivers critical to life and civilization are reduced to trickles, it becomes evident that ignoring environmental management can lead to scenarios once thought to be purely allegorical. The ongoing situation with the Euphrates and Tigris rivers is a harsh reminder of how neglect and poor resource management can turn cautionary tales into real emergencies. This situation calls for a proactive approach to environmental stewardship and resource management to prevent the bleak futures foretold by ancient prophecies from becoming a present-day reality. The Euphrates and Tigris rivers have been essential to people for thousands of years, supporting farming and providing the basic needs for many civilizations. These rivers are more than just water sources. They are a central part of the region's cultural and religious heritage. However, in recent times, these vital waterways have significantly diminished, turning into weak streams due to overuse for agriculture and energy production. As the rivers dried up, agricultural production plummeted, causing severe problems for the local communities that depend on these waters. In an attempt to mitigate this disaster, authorities decided to tap into the water stored in the Mosul Dam reservoir. This was a desperate measure to save the failing crops, but it led to an unexpected outcome. the unveiling of ancient ruins that were previously submerged under the water of the reservoir. While Joe Rogan's exploration of the topic has made more people aware of the situation, there is a concern that the complexity of the environmental and cultural implications might be oversimplified or lost in the translation from a severe global issue to a topic of casual, digestible media consumption. The Euphrates is not just a river, but a symbol of life and prosperity found in many historical and religious texts. It has also been a strategic asset in numerous conflicts, where control over its waters led to power struggles that shaped the region's history. Today, the dried riverbed reveals remnants of ancient societies, providing valuable information to archaeologists and historians. This emergence of long-submerged historical sites has sparked excitement among scholars and has drawn public attention to the historical importance of the area. However, the exposure of these ancient sites is more than just an exciting archaeological event. It highlights a significant crisis, the devastating impact of environmental degradation on current populations. Communities that have relied on the Euphrates for centuries now face the harsh reality of water scarcity, threatening their way of life and their future. The drought has affected not only human populations, but also the local wildlife, disrupting habitats and forcing many species to either adapt quickly or face extinction. Next, we see how media attention on the Euphrates might help or hinder its survival. Rediscovering the Euphrates' forgotten stories. The discussion initiated by figures like Rogan can be seen as double-edged. While it helps raise awareness about these critical issues, it also risks simplifying a complex problem into a mere talking point. The real challenge lies in ensuring that this media attention translates into concrete actions to address the underlying causes of the river's decline. The drying of the Euphrates has exposed not only physical relics of past civilizations, but also the glaring vulnerabilities of our modern society to environmental mismanagement. As fascinating as it is to uncover ancient structures and artifacts, these discoveries also serve as a stark reminder of the consequences of human actions on the environment. The situation calls for a thoughtful examination of how we manage our natural resources and a coordinated effort to implement sustainable practices that can help restore balance to this historically significant region. As the crisis unfolds, the loss of the Euphrates' vibrancy is a profound reminder of our responsibility to the environment and to future generations. The stories etched along its banks and now revealed through its receding waters are a call to action, an urgent reminder that our heritage and ecological well-being are deeply interconnected. This event is not just about rediscovering a past long hidden, but about reevaluating our current practices and their long-term impacts on our planet. The drying up of the Euphrates River, once the lifeblood of ancient civilizations, has grabbed attention worldwide, sparking a mix of scholarly excitement and prophetic unease. Yet there's a sense that the rush to explore the dried riverbed might be driven as much by a fascination with the drama of discovery as by the sober realities these discoveries represent. Scientists deploy advanced technologies like radar, satellite imagery, and carbon dating with great enthusiasm, treating the exposed riverbed as a stage for showcasing technological prowess. Community members and volunteers have dedicated months to transforming the newly exposed riverbank in the local areas. Their work, filled with a mix of disbelief and contemplation, reflects not just a response to a natural event, but a deeper personal interaction with their environment and history. The emergence of an ancient prophecy linked to the river stirs further debate, dividing people between those who see this event as foretold by scripture and others who attribute it to natural or man-made causes. Joe Rogan's discussion on his show about the Euphrates highlights its global significance, blending entertainment with academic discussion. While he reaches a broad audience, the approach sometimes flirts with sensationalism, potentially overshadowing the nuanced scientific and cultural discussions. The exposed riverbed has become a fertile ground for archaeologists and historians, revealing artifacts and geological features that narrate human history and environmental changes over millennia. However, the urgency of these explorations, driven by the possibility of the river refilling, sometimes clashes with the slow, careful pace that thorough scientific study requires. This raises the question, are we in a respectful race to save history, or are we hurriedly claiming victories in a race against time? The story of the Euphrates is intertwined with human history, spirituality, and culture. Its decline is more than an environmental issue. It's a dramatic change that impacts societies and the spiritual connections that people have historically maintained with this natural resource. The river's recession underscores the impermanence of our environment and challenges our assumptions of permanence. Local communities face a mix of emotions, fear, nostalgia, and curiosity, as the receding waters prompt a re-evaluation of their changing world. This phenomenon extends discussions beyond local concerns to global issues such as climate change, water management, and the preservation of historical sites, revealing the intricate dance between ecological systems and human activity. The recent resurgence in archaeological activity, triggered by the reappearance of an ancient city last seen during a 2018 drought, highlights these intersections. Believed to be from the Mitanni Empire, this site offers insights into a civilization long buried by disasters and time. The excavation has uncovered a palace with walls still vibrant with ancient frescoes, offering a colorful window into the artistic expressions of that era. Yet, these exciting discoveries come with ethical dilemmas about the speed of archaeological work and the preservation of ancient sites. The rush to uncover history, compelled by environmental deadlines, often bypasses the methodical pace required for deep understanding. Moreover, the erosion of the floodplain, revealing prehistoric sites and geological formations, has ignited renewed interest in archaeological and historical research. This situation calls for discussions on how to manage our cultural heritage responsibly. The insights from these ancient sites are not just academic. They provide practical lessons that influence modern technology, social structures, and environmental interactions. This research is not simply about the thrill of discovery. It's about learning from the past to make informed decisions for our present and future. The diverse reactions to the Euphrates drying, from local to global scales, paint a multifaceted picture of our relationship with nature. Discussions and studies around the vanished riverbed help address many unanswered questions and outline our understanding of interconnected systems, pushing forward an environmentally aware culture. As this narrative unfolds, the discoveries along the Euphrates become a symbol of humanity's quest for knowledge, driven perhaps by necessity, but with a keen eye on legacy. This story, rich with details of rediscovered towns and relics, also serves as a reminder of our impact on our planet. Ultimately, as we delve into our past, we shape our future, crafting the narrative of human interaction with nature through every artifact uncovered and every tale retold. Now, let's explore the impact of the river drying up on the area and its people. Iraq's hidden treasures revealed. Imagine a city from long ago where life seemed frozen in time. Kids played in the streets, animals wandered, and archaeologists unearthed old relics, breathing life back into the forgotten past. This peaceful scene was shattered one day by a massive earthquake. The ground trembled, buildings toppled, and the once bustling city became a chaotic, crumbling mess under the weight of the Mosul Dam in Iraq, turning what was a vibrant center of culture into a pile of ruins. The destruction seemed complete, but the way the city's walls fell had a strange effect. As the upper layers collapsed, they buried the lower parts, ironically making the city less likely to be attacked again. The accumulated rubble acted as a shield, protecting the underlying architecture and the artifacts from weather and time. As decades passed, the site was buried under sand and dust, becoming a forgotten speck in the desert. When archaeologists came to dig up the site, they found a wealth of objects preserved from the past. Coins that once jingled in pockets, pottery pieces that were part of daily life, and personal items like jewelry and tools that provided a glimpse into the personal lives of those who lived there. These discoveries were like a direct line to the past, telling stories of everyday life that continued to resonate. Beyond just the city's history, the nearby Euphrates River holds its own tales. Not only famous from stories in the Bible, but Islamic traditions also speak of it, particularly a prophecy suggesting that one day the river will reveal hidden gold. This prophecy warns people not to take the gold, suggesting that such greed could have dire consequences. The importance of the river goes beyond its waters. It's seen as holding hidden wealth that, if uncovered, could cause more trouble than good. As the river has dried up over time, turning into land, this prophecy seems more plausible. The discovery of an ancient civilization under the old riverbed supports the idea that significant finds are still to be made. If gold is discovered next, the excitement could quickly turn into a serious challenge. The competition for such resources could lead to not just environmental or climate debates, but serious conflicts between nations. The implications of such discoveries are vast. Finding gold could potentially unleash not just a rush for wealth, but also a series of political and ethical dilemmas. Nations might struggle not only with the logistics of accessing new resources, but also with the moral implications of such discoveries. In telling the story of this city and its river, we see more than just a tale of survival and loss. It's a complex narrative about how nature and human history are deeply intertwined. The past has a way of resurfacing, bringing with it not only hidden treasures, but also long-forgotten disputes. Our response to these discoveries might tell us as much about our current values and conflicts as the relics tell us about those of the past. The mines located near the river that supposedly provided gold to the Assyrian and Babylonian empires were actually not physically connected to the river. The idea was simply that these mines were close enough to the river that they could be considered part of the same geographical area. However, this connection was pretty weak and not based on solid evidence. Moving to the present day, we see small-scale gold mining activities taking place in eastern Syria. Here, locals use basic tools to dig out small quantities of gold from the riverbed. Yet, this doesn't mean there are large amounts of gold in the river. The small bits of gold found are likely due to the wearing away of nearby gold-containing rocks. Experts in geology believe that rivers generally do not have large gold deposits because the denser gold particles tend to sink deep into the riverbed's cracks or solid base. Turning our focus to the tunnels, which were once thought to be based on Christian stories and used to lock away angels who would later be released to cause massive destruction, this idea was debunked when an old document was found. This document suggested that these tunnels were simply part of a route connecting Babylon to the larger area of Mesopotamia. Despite the initial excitement, the real function of these tunnels has left many people puzzled. As historians and researchers tried to understand their historical significance, an unsettling development occurred when eerie sounds started coming from one of these tunnels. It's easy to imagine that these sounds might be supernatural, but it's more likely that they are just natural sounds echoing through the tunnels. It's clear that while the area is historically important, the tendency to add a dramatic flair and exaggerate elements of the past often overshadows a more factual appreciation of its history. Whether it's inflating the importance of ancient gold mining operations or giving too much attention to unexplained noises in old tunnels, the stories often drift towards the sensational, leaving much open to interpretation and little subjected to serious historical analysis. This blend of half-truths and folklore creates a fascinating but often misleading narrative that captivates some while frustrating those seeking factual historical understanding. We'll now discuss how recent finds in the dried riverbed affect our view of the past and today's challenges. Sealed corners of the subterranean creature. A recent discovery in a long-abandoned place attracted a varied group of explorers and academics to a cave that had been closed off for thousands of years. When they first entered, strange noises echoed from the depths, prompting a more careful examination. What they found inside was so unusual that it led to the immediate resealing of the entrance. As more detailed investigations took place, a weird creature with a large mouth and a tongue like a snake was found under the ground. Experts who saw it couldn't fit it into any known categories of animals, sparking a lot of debate and wild guesses about what it might be. Some thought it was a kind of fish, while others argued it might be a newly discovered type of reptile. The decision to quickly close the cave again added to the frenzy of guesses. Rumors spread that this creature was responsible for the strange sounds that had drawn people to the cave in the first place. Others thought that there might be more dangerous things hidden further inside the cave, perhaps even more of these strange creatures. Among those who enjoy a good supernatural story, there was talk that these caves might once have been homes to demons. Some religious scholars connected these underground spaces, especially those near historically important places like the Euphrates River, to ancient stories of evil spirits. This interpretation, while rooted in religious stories, seemed to some like a stretch, a way to attach an old tale to something modern and as yet unexplained. This story has continued to capture people's attention, blending a mix of caution and wild theory. It reflects a broader tendency to try to connect the unknown elements of our world with elements of the supernatural. Yet, the real details about the cave and its strange inhabitant remain hidden, blocked off from further exploration and scientific study. The ongoing conversation about the cave balances between skepticism and an almost eager curiosity, showing how much people want to make sense of the unknown by linking it to extraordinary or supernatural explanations. As this narrative unfolds, it demonstrates a deep-seated human trait, the desire to probe the unknown, regardless of the risks, or the readiness to confront what might be discovered. The story of the cave has become a focal point for this curiosity, acting as a reminder of the vast stretches of our planet still left to be understood. In the meantime, the true nature of the cave's contents remains a topic of speculation and caution, a puzzle yet to be solved by the curious and the brave. The concept that biblical prophecies predict current events takes an interesting turn with the drying of the Euphrates River. Historically, this river has supported life for thousands of years, but now it's often mentioned by those who believe in prophecies related to the end of the world. Specifically, the Bible's Book of Revelation talks about this river drying up, which is supposed to signal the release of 4 angels who will then bring about catastrophic global events. This idea not only comes from the Book of Revelation, but also ties in themes from other biblical texts like those found in Daniel and Ezekiel. Yet it adds an extra layer by connecting real environmental issues to these prophecies. While it's true that the Euphrates is losing water, to say this is a sign of impending doom stretches the imagination and perhaps leans too heavily into the realm of sensationalism. Some might say that interpreting these changes as prophetic signs fits into a larger, more dramatic narrative that captivates audiences by linking observable phenomena with divine predictions. The decline in the river's water levels can be attributed to much more mundane factors such as climate change, the construction of dams, and inefficient water management, rather than supernatural causes. The tendency to weave these practical issues into a tapestry of biblical prophecy often shifts focus from the actual problems at hand, which are environmental and logistical in nature. Moreover, the focus on prophecy can sometimes detract from addressing real environmental crises. These crises are caused by human actions such as overuse of water resources, poor environmental policies, and global warming. Instead of exploring these tangible issues, the conversation often veers into the dramatic territory of apocalyptic predictions, which, while compelling, offer little in the way of practical solutions. It is essential to consider that while the drying of the Euphrates can be seen as an intriguing storyline for those who follow biblical prophecies, it should more urgently serve as a call to action for environmental sustainability and better resource management. The actual challenge lies not in mystical realms, but in the impact of human activities on our natural resources. It's easy to get caught up in dramatic stories of drying rivers and ecological chaos, but these stories often miss the point. Real solutions to environmental problems are not about grand gestures, but are found in the steady, everyday work of managing our resources better. Water scarcity affects nearly half the world's population due to changing climates that disrupt weather patterns and water cycles. While organizations like the World Bank talk a good game about sustainability, in reality, many of their plans are underfunded and lack effective follow-through. We often hear that building better water systems will solve our problems. Every year, huge sums of money are poured into construction projects meant to improve how we get and use water. Yet, despite all this spending, we still face significant losses due to leaking old pipes. This contradiction is hard to ignore. On top of that, treating wastewater to make it reusable sounds great in theory, but it often turns out to be expensive and less effective than hoped. The concept of integrated water resources management is another area filled with good intentions, but is messy in practice. It aims to coordinate the management of water, land, and related resources to improve social and economic conditions without hurting the environment. However, this often gets bogged down by complicated bureaucratic processes that slow down the very improvements they aim to achieve. Then there are water markets, which treat water like a tradable good, suggesting that market forces can help conserve water by finding a balance between supply and demand. Yet, this risks putting essential water access in the hands of market fluctuations, potentially compromising the right to clean water. Local measures like fixing leaky faucets and using efficient appliances are steps forward, but they are small efforts in the face of a much bigger problem. Public education about saving water is crucial, but often feels like it's not leading to real change. People are told how to save water, yet widespread adoption of these practices remains low. Global agreements and promises to tackle water scarcity and protect the environment often end up as just that, promises. The global response sometimes seems more about looking concerned than putting real measures in place. To sum up, while tales of environmental decline might grab our attention, the true solutions are found in the less glamorous, incremental work of applying scientific knowledge, enhancing technologies, and navigating bureaucratic hurdles. Recognizing this helps us understand that addressing these issues requires persistent, often tedious effort rather than flashy, quick fixes. The challenge is to stay committed to making these slow, steady changes, understanding that they are what will truly help in the long run. What are your thoughts on prioritizing long-term sustainability over immediate results? Share your views, like, comment, and don't forget to subscribe for more discussions like this.